all the students who are preparing for company secretary any level, that is CS foundation level, that is CCET, or CS executive or CS professional, especially the students who have aspired to become company secretary. Here is a good news for you. On June 11th, Reserve Bank of India has published a paper on governance in banks. I repeat, corporate governance in banks. Now, as per the report, it's there was a committee called Dr. Ganguly Committee. This committee has made recommendations, very important recommendations when it comes to banks, and it says very clearly that banks, that is irrespective of public or private or small banks or payment banks or whatever banks, all the banks who are into financial activities are supposed to have whole-time company secretary hereafter. And Reserve Bank of India, in this regard, wanted to insist that banks are also supposed to ensure corporate governance. And corporate governance, as you all know, it is about ensuring transparency, it is about ensuring fairness, it is about ensuring accountability. And so, in this regard, obviously, you need to have some systems, procedures, methods to have corporate governance in place in every company. So this corporate governance is normal thing for public and listed companies, but now all the banks, as you all know, most of the banks are actually companies, right? So some are listed, some are not listed, but in the banks nowadays, I don't think so you will find any bank which is not listed. So most of the banks are listed. So what happens is all the banks are supposed to actually follow the guidelines, regulations, rules given by Reserve Bank of India. In addition to this, we also have, suppose if the bank is a listed bank and that bank is supposed to, sometimes it raises money in the market, that is stock market, and they're also supposed to follow that is SEBI Act. So SEBI regulations they have to follow, Reserve Bank of India regulations they have to follow, 1949 Banking Regulation Act they have to follow. A lot of rules and regulations are in place actually. Now the question comes, in all these banks, despite of having these rules given by Reserve Bank of India, still there are scams and frauds happening continuously, right? So maybe that was one reason where this Ganguly committee has made a very important recommendation that every bank, private or public, whatever, listed or unlisted, they're supposed to ensure that corporate governance has to be in place. So if you want to ensure corporate governance, which means you make sure that the bank will strictly adhere to the rules and regulations which are given by SEBI or Reserve Bank of India or whichever is connected to that. So very important news that I wanted to bring it to you. Now Reserve Bank of India has made it open till July 15 that any suggestions or recommendations regarding this. That means the Reserve Bank of India has decided that all the banks must have whole-time company secretary, and regarding this suggestions and comments bank is expecting by July 15th 2020. So that means if all the suggestions are received by July 15th, and thereafter definitely there will be some deliberations going on, acceptance, refusal of recommendations, acceptance of certain recommendations, etc., etc. So all this while, if you think if everything goes well this year, that means when it comes to this remaining 6 months or 5 months, then 2020 21, 2021 22, or 2021 21 22, definitely next year, that is 2021-22 onwards, there's every possibility this rule, whichever has been proposed or recommended by Reserve Bank of India, will come into existence. So good news for you. So now look at this. Banking is something which is robust in India. Indian economy, in fact, I'm telling you, across everywhere, you cannot imagine without a bank. There's a lot of banks, and most of the banks are listed companies, and all these banks are now supposed to ensure corporate governance, and all these banks are supposed to have full-time company secretary, and this is a good news for you. So number of vacancies will increase, number of jobs will increase, especially the people who are thinking, oh, yo, if I become company secretary, I'm going to work only for private, etc. You're going to be in banking, not only CS people are going to be in bank. So you can keep your head high and prepare well. It's a good news for you. So hope for the best, that all the recommendations will be in favor. Whatever it is, this is one thing. Why RBI is now very particular about this. Reserve Bank of India is very particular because in recent past, if you could see, a lot of scams are happening in banking, and despite of having so many regulations which are imposed by Reserve Bank of India, still there are scams, frauds are happening. So you, being a company secretary, are going to make a hell lot of difference, being a compliance officer in all these banks, and definitely your career is going to be very lucrative, and thanks to Reserve Bank of India. Have a good day. Take care.